So what we've got here is an interesting problem about exponential functions in that we're given the graph of an exponential function, and then we have to determine the equation of the exponential function. So this is kind of an interesting question because in general this is kind of a hard thing to do. That if someone gives you a graph, it's actually kind of tough often to work backwards and find the equation. But in the case of exponential functions, it's not as bad as it can be for other functions. So let's do that in this case. So what we have to do is we have to find the formula for this exponential function. So all right, so we know that it's an exponential function, and so that means we should know that it has this form. It has the a times b raised to the x, where a is a non-zero number and b is a positive number other than 1. And so, okay, so how I'm going to go about answering this question is I'm going to focus on 2 points. I think the easiest way to do this is to focus on the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is 0, negative 7. And then the other point I'm going to focus on is the point where the x-coordinate is 1. So now, you don't have to use these 2 points, but these I think are the easiest ones to use. So you might experiment. If you're feeling a little bit spicy, you might try to solve this you might try to do this problem, but pick 2 different points. Of course, that might be kind of hard because these are actually probably the only 2 points that I actually know the coordinates of. So maybe these are the only 2 points I can use in this particular problem. Okay, so what's going on here? So what are we trying to do? We're trying to figure out the value of A, and we're trying to figure out the value of B, because A is supposed to be a non-zero constant, and B is supposed to be a non-zero constant. No, sorry, actually B is a positive non-1 constant. Sorry, I misspoke there. So then we got to figure out what A and B are. Well, there's a fancy trick here that if you read the section carefully, you know that A is negative 7 because A is always the y-intercept. So for any exponential function, A is always the y-intercept. So that's kind of a handy fact that can make your life easier. But I do want to comment that what if you forgot that, or what if heaven forbid you didn't read the section, then you wouldn't know that little shortcut trick. And what I want to show you is you don't need to. You could have figured that out yourself. And here's how you'd figure it out: is you'd say, well, hey, these are the coordinates of a point. So that means that's a y-coordinate and that's an x-coordinate. So what that means is that when x is 0, well, actually, let me write some things down here. Let me write some things down in red. So I have A and I have times B. And the fact that these coordinates, the fact that the x-coordinate is 0 and the y-coordinate is negative 7, what that means is that when I set x equal to 0, then the y has to be negative 7. That's what it means for that point to be on the graph. And so now you can see, oh, well, b to the 0, that's always equal to 1. And so sure enough, there you see that a has to be negative 7. So all right, so we just figured out that a had to be negative 7 at least in 2 different ways. One way is to have read the section and remember that a is always the y-intercept, and the other way is just to use some algebra, plug in some numbers. So, all right, so we now know that our function is y is equal to negative 7 times b to the x. So we're halfway there. We just have to figure out what b is. Well, okay, well now I'm going to use I've got another point here. I can say that, hey, here, this is an x coordinate. When 1 is the x coordinate, that means that y is equal to negative 14. So in this equation, if y is negative 14, then x has to be a positive 1. So if I replace x by positive 1, then I have to replace y by negative 14. And now you can just do a little bit of algebra. If I divide both sides by negative 7, I get 2 is equal to b to the first power. And b to the first power is just equal to b. And so all right. So we got it. So my final answer then is going to be negative. We said that the a was negative 7 and the b was 2. So the equation of that function is negative 7 times 2 to the x power.